1870s gold rushes. A number of gold rushes occurred throughout the 1800s. Since a single gold nugget could make someone a millionaire, prospectors rushed to far-flung corners of the planet in search of riches. Notable gold rushes included North Carolina, 1799. The first major gold rush in America occurred in 1799 in North Carolina, when a young boy discovered a massive 17-pound gold nugget in Cabarrus County. California, 1848. The San Francisco 49ers football team is famously named after the gold rush of 1848-49 in California. Prospectors came from across the world to San Francisco. Before 1848, only about 1,000 people lived in San Francisco. Within 2 years of gold being discovered in the region, the population had swelled to 25,000. There were so many recent migrants to San Francisco, in fact, that the massive San Francisco harbor was filled with empty ships. Nobody wanted to sail away from the bustling boomtown. Klondike, 1896. Gold was discovered in the Klondike River in the Yukon Territory and in other parts of British Columbia. Prospectors traveled far north and fought harsh winters to claim their fortune in the land of the midnight sun. Australia, 1850s onward. Australia hosted a number of major gold rushes throughout the latter half of the 19th century. Gold was discovered in New South Wales and Victoria in the 1850s and in Western Australia in the 1890s. Gold rushes helped to populate empty areas of the Australian outback. Towns throughout Australia owe their existence to the gold rushes of the 1800s. 1944, Bretton Woods pegs the global price of gold. The two world wars wreaked havoc on the gold standard and world financial markets. Of course, it didn't help matters that the Great Depression occurred in between those two wars. After decades of war and conflict, world leaders came together under the Bretton Woods agreements. This system created a gold exchange standard where the price of gold was fixed to the US dollar. This was a radical experiment that had never been done before, and it made the United States very powerful on the world's markets. The US dollar was chosen for the Bretton Woods system because the United States was easily the world's strongest economy coming out of the Second World War. Unlike previously strong European nations, the United States did not have to repair infrastructure or fix towns that had been bombarded throughout the war. The day the price of gold was pegged to the US dollar is one of the most important points of US history because it helped make the United States the global superpower it is today. 1970s, gold standard ends with the Vietnam War. In 1944, gold was fixed at $35 per ounce for the foreseeable future. In the early 1970s, another war, the Vietnam War, caused the gold exchange standard to collapse. America's budget was in ruin, and in 1971, President Nixon suddenly decided to end the Bretton Woods system with a moment known in history as the Nixon Shock. Between 1971 and 1976, a number of attempts were made to salvage the gold standard. However, the price of gold continued to rise beyond what any currency could sustain. That's why many gold pricing charts begin around 1970. Between 1970 and 1971, the price of gold was relatively flat before skyrocketing to a record high of $800 plus in 1980. If you were to look at a gold pricing chart from the 1940s to 1970s, it would be a flat line of $35 per ounce, which is why you don't see too many gold pricing charts that extend before 1970. Present day, no countries in the world use a gold standard. As of 2014, no countries in the world use a gold standard. In other words, no currency in the world is backed by gold. The last major currency to use a gold standard was the Swiss franc, which used a 40% gold reserve until the year 2000. Of course, that doesn't mean that countries have sold all their gold or that their currencies are based on nothing. Most countries in the world maintain large gold reserves in order to defend their currency against possible future emergencies. America's gold reserves are famously held at Fort Knox, Kentucky. The heavily defended location holds an unknown amount of gold, as the amount is officially classified by the United States government. However, it's widely accepted that the United States holds more gold bullion than any other country in the world, approximately 1.3 times as much gold as the next leading country, Germany. As with anything labeled classified in the United States, there are plenty of conspiracy theorists who argue that Fort Knox is actually empty and that the gold is held in some secret location or does not exist at all. You'll have to figure that out on your own. Modern day, gold investment rises. Gold has been seen as a smart investment for millennia. However, the use of gold as an investment became hugely popular after the end of the Bretton Woods system in 1971. Since the 1970s, the price of gold has steadily increased. In 1970, gold was pegged at $35 per ounce. In August 2011, that number had risen to nearly $2,000 per ounce. However, the years in between were not a smooth upward slope, and gold, like any other investment, has gone through a number of ups and downs over the past few decades. When looking at gold investment charts, it's important to recognize inflation. Some charts show the price of gold as virtually a straight line from the bottom left corner of the graph to the top right corner. However, the price of gold has experienced two major spikes since the 1970s, once in 1980 and the other in 2011. Furthermore, due to inflation, paying $35 for an ounce of gold in 1970 wasn't the same as paying $35 for an ounce of gold today. Judging by the purchasing power calculator, which looks at how CPI has changed over the last few decades in the United States, $35 in 1970 would be worth approximately $200 today. By carefully weighing all of this information and current trends, you can build an accurate view of the present value and future value of gold. 2000s and 2010s, gold in modern times. Over the past 2 decades, gold has gone through a number of major changes. August 1999 was a landmark moment in the price of gold as it dropped to a price of $251.70. This occurred after central banks around the world were rumored to be reducing their gold bullion reserves, and at the same time, mining companies were selling gold in forward markets. By February 2003, outlook on gold had reversed. Many viewed gold as a safe haven after the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Geopolitical tensions between 2003 and 2008 continued to elevate the price of gold. And in 2008, the global economic crisis increased the price of gold even further. After reaching a high of over $1,900 per ounce in 2011, gold has fallen to between $1,200 to $1,400 in recent years. Please subscribe for more videos. Thank you.